Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur and digital marketer, and today I want to share with you AI-powered entrepreneurship, boosting business success with artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, unless you've been hiding in a cave somewhere, is obviously all around us now. And it didn't take very long for it to really take hold. You know, about a year ago even, the infancy of AI was starting to pop up, and some of the new AI engines were becoming available or being beta tested and things like that. But there was very little in the actual mainstream in terms of business and in terms of the digital footprint. So we didn't have it integrated on all these websites and involved. Now laptops are being made, new computers are being made with AI built into the actual chip itself. And so every device we have is going to start becoming smarter, having AI integrated and everything else. So obviously with the proliferation of artificial intelligence and having it all around us, it's important as entrepreneurs that we're always aware and that we always know what's going on in terms of new technologies and new opportunities. And so the question becomes, how do we use it for our own business in order to become more successful, in order to make things easier, faster, more profitable, and things like that? Because here's the thing, even if we don't like the idea of artificial intelligence, and there's certainly some ethical dilemmas about it, but even if we don't like it, the fact is it's here to stay, and the fact is our competitors are going to be using it. So it's really important that we actually find ways to embrace it, at least in ways where it can help us with a competitive advantage. And so that's why AI is super important, and it's why it's such an important topic to at least understand and have an awareness of, so that way we're in a situation where we can make decisions that will help us grow our businesses and help us maintain our competitive advantage. So what exactly is AI in terms of what entrepreneurs are looking at, right? What exactly is artificial intelligence, and that's why we should care about it. But what is it really? Well, it's basically the use of technology, right? It's the use of automation, and this isn't the textbook definition, but it's the use of technology. It's the use of machine learning and machine thinking to be able to do some things for us. Now, there's a lot of things in business that are repetitive business tasks, and those things are very, very easily done and automated with AI because it's simple and it's something that can be learned. But AI can go way beyond automating simple tasks like customer support and things like that. AI can actually help us make strategic decisions because it can do research for us. It can weigh pros and cons of various decisions, and it can also figure out sort of the sticking points in various processes and things like that to allow us to make breakthroughs that maybe we couldn't before. And so that is where AI becomes really, really powerful. There are a lot of practical applications that we can use as entrepreneurs. So in terms of market research and customer insights, AI can not only go out there and research for us global statistics and statistics in the market in general to figure out, what consumers want, what the issues are, all these things that we used to have to use surveys for, and that we used to have to, conduct our own market research and do focus groups or surveys, or if anything is publicly available, AI is going to be able to go out there and find that for us and automatically sort of summarize it and put it all together. So it's a huge leg up, at least in terms of the initial part of market research, because it's going to allow us to figure all that stuff out really fast. And it's going to point us in the right direction. Now, we might need to do deeper dives. We might need to get in more depth in terms of the things that we're trying to study about our consumers and about our market. But at the same time, it's going to cut a lot of that early legwork out of the process. The other thing it can do is it can give us a lot of help in terms of customer insights. So if we sort of narrow it down from the market in general to our own customers or our own sales process and our own website and things like that. What AI can do is it can actually look at the various behavior of what consumers are doing either on our website or through the purchase process or their purchase behavior, any kind of actions that consumers are taking. It's going to be able to take all of that data and analyze it. So in doing that, it's going to help us determine, when customer buys, product A, they're 38% more likely to buy product B and only 12% more likely to buy product C. Well, if we're constructing a sales funnel and we were trying to decide, do we offer, the tents or the lanterns to the people that are buying the sleeping bags? Well, now it's going to tell us that. It's going to tell us that on average, those people are buying the tent more than they're buying the lantern. So we want to hit them with the upsell for the thing that's more likely to make sales. So all of these things are designed to make it a lot more efficient and to make that whole process run a lot faster, right? Because we can figure that out on our own. But the way we'd have to figure it out is we'd have to track each and every sale. Then we'd have to look at the sales statistics. Then we'd have to make the correlations. And then we'd have to figure that out. AI can do all that stuff for us. So that's one of the brilliant uses of artificial intelligence right off the bat. Market research, customer insights. In that way, it can also help us with predictive analytics for decision making, right? So basically what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to give it a bunch of inputs, a bunch of market factors or data points or whatever, and we can ask it to make decisions in terms of what it has the highest probability of success. So if we say, basically we have all of these, 4 or 5 different product lines that we're considering launching, and we want to know which one has the highest likelihood of the customers wanting to buy it. We can input that information and we can ask it to make decisions. Now again, this is all computer, this is all artificial intelligence, this is all, it's not anything that's done in terms of working with a real world example, but it's going to be able to take data and it's going to be able to synthesize all of that and tell us based on the highest odds likelihood. We always, anytime we're using AI or any other kind of automation or any other kind of tool, we never want to sort of subjugate our own gut and our own mind and our own heart in terms of what we want. We always want to use AI as a collaborative tool, right? The thing of it is when we get too reliant, and this is one of the dangers, if we get too reliant on it and we just say, okay, well, whatever the computer tells me, I'm going to do it. Whatever the computer tells me, I'm going to do it. The problem is we don't take factors into account that can't be determined by a computer. The perfect example of this actually is in the NFL, the National Football League. One of the things that they've gotten very big on in all the professional sports now is analytics. So they look at all these analytics for, do you go for the 2-point conversion or do you kick the extra point? And if you run completely out of the book, the problem that you're going to have with that is that there are going to be circumstances that don't equate to that. Human beings have highs and lows. Human beings have times where we are sharp and on our game, and we have times where we struggle. And so whether it's baseball and you're bringing in a relief pitcher, or whether it's football and you're deciding whether to take the kick, the statistics can tell you one thing, but your gut can tell you something else about the human being that's there. If you're watching a guy warm up and he's throwing curveballs, and those curveballs aren't breaking, it's just going straight down the plate over and over, the statistics might tell you the curveball thrower, in this particular case against a fastball hitter, is a great matchup, right? Statistically, that fastball hitter is going to foul out or strike out or whatever else. However, if the guy that you're going to put in, the human being, doesn't have it that day, and they're throwing layups to the person, softballs to the person behind the plate, they're going to crush it for a home run no matter what the statistics tell us. So as an important note, we always want to use AI with a grain of salt, and we always want to use our own mind, our own heart, and our own gut to make final decisions. But it's a really important, valuable additional tool in terms of doing that. Another element that AI can do really, really well for us, and this is where it excels, is automating repetitive tasks. So if we have something that we know needs to be done over and over and over again, AI is excellent at being able to take a routine task and doing it over and over again. So if we need it to, a great example of this actually is if you have a particular, customer service sort of questions that people will ask, and there tends to be sort of a flow within those questions. So the first question they'll ask is, well, will this product work if I have XYZ condition? And then you'll know that people that ask that will then ask the follow-up when you say yes, this particular question and that particular question. And it tends to be very predictable behavior. I've sold software online for 15 years. And in general, what happens with the frequently asked questions section or the customer support or whatever, if I go back and I look through the chain of customer support requests that we get, 80% of them fall within the same range of usually 4 or 5 key main questions or areas. There's always some outliers in there that are a little bit more challenging and difficult to answer, and that's where you can get a human being to do it. But if it's the same repetitive answer, instead of having a human being go in there and cutting and pasting each time and sending it to the customer and needing to wait for them to actually see the ticket to respond to the ticket, and this might take, hours or whatever, meanwhile the customer is waiting and can't get value out of your product, instead we can get an AI chatbot to do this for us, and it can answer those questions. And then it can answer the follow-up question, and it can answer the question after that. It can also track anything that it can't answer, and it can route those questions to people who can answer them. And so it can automate all of those lower level repetitive tasks for us and do things for us over and over and over again, which makes it really, really powerful. Now, along the same lines of that, it can also enhance customer engagement for the same reason. If we have people on our website, we have people, on our social profiles, whatever, and they have questions about our product or service, as any good salesperson knows, the most effective time, the highest probability of making a sale to somebody is when they're asking buying questions. They want to buy, they have some questions, and those are things that are obstacles to them pulling out the wallet and buying. If we have a little message on our website that says, hey, type us a message and we'll respond as soon as we can, and then we write them back an email 4 hours later, they might have already gone to a competitor. They might have already forgotten about being interested. They might have already moved on. If instead we have a little link and they click it and the chatbot shows up, they might think it's a human, they might not, whatever, but they type in a question and then they get an instant response. Well, now if they still have more questions, they can keep asking those, and if they don't, they can go ahead and buy. And so it makes them also feel, in addition to just the logistical advantage of having an instant response to everything that the customer has as a question, in addition to that, it creates confidence, it creates trust, because they're getting some responsiveness from our products and services. Nothing erodes trust or gets a customer or prospect soured on our company, our products, and our services more than reaching out to try to get a question answered, only to find that either they never get it answered or days go by and then they get a response. What the customer thinks in that particular situation is, oh, well, if I had a question before I even spent any money and it took them 3 days to get back to me, what's going to happen after they have my money and I have a question? I'm never going to get help. So that's going to absolutely hurt sales. And so the opposite of that is it's absolutely going to increase sales and customer engagement if we're using AI for that. So the other thing is, and sort of from the macro standpoint, what AI can really do for us, if we want to sort of step back and look down from up top, is it can help us streamline operations for efficiency. It can help us cut waste. It can help us cut costs. It can help us increase revenue and ultimately become more profitable. And in a day of increasing competition in every industry, in every market, everything, That's really valuable. The ability to constantly be improving our profit line. And so, regardless of how we feel about AI, it's important to at least understand the implications of what it can do for our business and what other companies and our competitors are going to be using it for, so we aren't caught with our pants down when our competitors are starting to take our customers away. So if I think about this in terms of like real world examples, so all that is sort of theoretical and it's stuff that we can do. But in the digital marketing industry where I am, and in the software in particular space, I can tell you that I've seen a dramatic shift over the last 12 months. On the marketplaces where I typically launch my products, there were 0 AI products 12 months ago. Maybe 15 months ago now, whatever. But basically about a year ago, there were no AI products whatsoever. Everything was one individual product after another. Now, in 12 months' time, to show you the power and how prolific this is right now, I would say closer to 90% of the software products that are being launched are either centered around AI or have an AI component that improves or increases the effectiveness of the product. So it might have been a product that already existed and then they added AI to it to make it better. But in truth, a lot of it are brand new AI products that didn't exist 12 months ago. And these are things, everything from developing, graphic designs and visual aids for you, to creating videos, to running customer support, to increasing sales for you automatically, to giving you advice on any area in your life where you need advice. It's like having your own, sort of counseling service or coaching service, sales service, customer service, all of these things sort of integrated, creating all kinds of content, blog posts, doing social media marketing, all of these things. Product creators have figured out how to use AI to do, and whether they're great products, good products, or meh products, the fact is this is working, and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get more and more pervasive. So it's super important. I know dozens of marketers who are using AI right now in their businesses, including me. I'm probably on the lower end in terms of I use it the least amount of the people that I know, but a lot of people are using it a lot. And more importantly, from the software that they're creating and generating sales from, millions and millions and millions of dollars over the last year have been generated selling AI products and AI software. And so it is everywhere, and it's super important that we understand that this isn't theoretical. This is stuff that people are using, they're doing it every day, and they're making money from it every day. And so it's causing their businesses to grow, and it's causing them to also develop a competitive advantage because they have something that other people want and need and don't have. Now, that said, while certainly that gives us rose-colored glasses about artificial intelligence, there are a couple of caveats, there are a couple of issues with it as well, right? So some of the challenges that entrepreneurs have in terms of trying to figure out how to use AI, number one is budget constraint. Now, as a small business owner, it's not probably a big deal. You can get an API for ChatGPT or some of the other services for really cheap or free, and you only pay for what you use. So you could do it on very low budget on a monthly basis to be able to use it for a bunch of the stuff you need in your business. However, there's also issues with skill gaps. So you have things where there might be things that you need to get done, and AI might or might not be really good at it. So as we implement AI, we need to make sure it's actually doing the job well. Just because AI says, okay, I got this for you, pal, doesn't mean that it's doing a great job, right? We need to make sure that the actual results we're getting make sense. If we're having it write content for us, and then we read it over and it's not understandable, or it's got curse words in there, and we don't use that in the way that we market, we need to be very careful about that to make sure. Then we also have the ethical considerations, right? Because anything that we're doing that we're putting out there as our own, we want to make sure that there's some element of that where if we're allowing a computer or a machine to create this for us, how we feel about that. Each person has their own tolerance for what they can accept and can't accept in terms of being genuine and having integrity. And so we have to decide that, and each on our own, and figure out what makes sense for our businesses. Also, there may be some resistance to change. Not only is it hard for us to use it and accept it, that what it can do, but if we have a staff, if we have a team, it's the same thing. We don't want people to feel as though their jobs are going to be eliminated by this. At the same time, business is business, and we need to be smart about the way that we use it. And so it's important to at least consider all of these factors before we just go all in on it, and make sure we understand that there are still some challenges with it. It's not a total, panacea or a done, product and benefit yet. So if we want to incorporate AI into our businesses, it's super important that we're able to do that, and that we're able to consider those other things. Now, if we want to incorporate it in our business, it's highly recommended to start with the available AI tools and platforms instead of trying to create anything new. In fact, one of the great ways to do this is actually find someone who's already an expert in AI, can outsource this on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, and ask them to integrate it into our business in one area, right? So we always want to start small anytime we're taking on anything new. And that way, once we get that up to speed, running and vetted, and we're comfortable and confident that it's working the way we want, then we can add, then we can grow, then we can expand. But we always start small. So if we don't have the time or the energy or interest in learning how to incorporate AI into our business ourselves, we can outsource that to somebody, have them integrate it for us, and then see how it's working and decide whether to keep expanding it. And then, of course, we do need to consider, the ethical elements of it. So we have to all make those decisions in terms of, data privacy, security, like our genuine content, things like that, bias and fairness in the AI algorithms. So we just want to be responsible and aware of the fact that some of these algorithms can have blind spots. So it's not a perfect situation yet. So the takeaway here is that AI, or artificial intelligence, can have a major impact for entrepreneurs on our businesses. There's no doubt. It can conduct research, grow sales, automate processes, help us in decision making, and a host of other time-saving, money-saving, and revenue-generating benefits. But AI is still evolving, so we need to figure out how to best utilize it to our advantage while also setting boundaries and keeping an eye on the ethical questions that it creates. Ultimately, it's an exciting time to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, and it'll be fascinating to see what the future holds.